Alright, what's going on? Usually I would say Ronin MMA, welcome back to the channel, but for all intents and purposes, today we are Outlaw MMA. Okay, we are here to tip our hats to Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I've changed the background. We got all my cowboy paraphernalia, or at least, the ones that I thought would fit well. We got the big saddle bowie, we got a belt buckle, horseshoe, my other cowboy hat here with a giant eagle's feather. And again, we're here to tip our hats to Donald Cowboy Cerrone. It was announced that he would be inducted into the Hall of Fame this last Saturday. I know that I'm maybe a few days late on this, but I've seen some articles online about people saying how he shouldn't be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I just wanted to kind of give my case. Now, I'm going to preface I'm a little biased. Cowboy is one of my favorite fighters of all time, and not because of his fights, but that is a big part of it. But who he was outside the cage, or who he still is outside the cage. I mean, the dude is a man's man. He's a fighter's fighter. He's incredible. I love listening to him tell stories. Man, he's awesome. And I want to make my case for why he should be inducted into the UFC's Hall of Fame now. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And look at the effort I'm putting in, man. You know how many decorations I had to move for this? It didn't take me all that long, but still. Yeah, let's just get right into it. Okay, so firstly, I seen an article by somebody over at Bloody Elbow, right? Who would have thought? Who they also have expressed bias towards Cowboy, just in the opposite direction, right? I've heard guys over there call him bigot and things like that, but wrote an article saying how Donald Cowboy Cerrone is anything but a UFC Hall of Famer now. Firstly, I would point out that this is, as that man said, who wrote the article, the UFC's Hall of Fame, right? This is not MMA Hall of Fame. This is the UFC's Hall of Fame. So it's relevant to what goes on inside their organization. It is obviously going to be completely subjective to who they want to be put into the UFC's Hall of Fame. And I would say to the people who have a very high standard of what would get into the Hall of Fame, or what kind of fighter would get into the Hall of Fame, you don't want to make it too high that you have like four people in there, okay? Because if we're going off of like, I've heard guys honestly say that not even every UFC champion should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. You should have to be on the level of like a George St. Pierre or a Kamaru Usman or you know what I mean, Israel Adesanya, I guess, with multiple title defenses stretching over the course of a couple of years. But if you're going to reserve spots for only guys like that, you're going to have a pretty fucking empty hall, all things said and done. And I think that much like in other sports, right, you can't focus only on one stat or one issue because, let's say, for instance, you focus on points scored or goals or whatever in the UFC or the NHL's Hall of Fame, you would only ever have forwards. You know what I mean? Whereas what about the defensemen and shit like that? So you've got to have a different, a wide variety of ways that you can get in. I would also say that there's somebody in the UFC Hall of Fame who honestly I forgot about that I don't remember hearing anybody bitch about it when he got put in, which is Uriah Faber, who also never won a title in the UFC. He did win one in the WEC, but the WEC is not the UFC, obviously. So, and I know that the UFC bought them out, but it doesn't matter. It was still the WEC when he was the title holder. Donald Cowboy Cerrone might be one of the best fighters to never win a belt. And honestly, dude, I know this is purely hypothetical, but if he was a little bit more picky with his fights and wasn't so willing to take short notice fights and just be the guy that he is, the fighter that he is, dude, we may have seen him win a championship because he lost to Rafael dos Anjos. And then maybe one or two fights later, Eddie Alvarez is the champion, and he had just previously beaten Eddie Alvarez to get his shot at the title. And and then Conor McGregor slides in and finishes Eddie Alvarez. But it's all about like who you're facing in any given night. I don't think that his two title losses are indicative of his abilities as a fighter. I think that the criticism that he may fold under the biggest stages may be true. There might be a little bit of truth to that for sure, but I feel like on any given night at the time when he was getting title opportunities, he could have easily been champion. The guy was an absolute savage. He had multiple like rejuvenations of his career over two different weight classes. In welterweight, he's fighting guys a lot bigger than him. The guy's got a long list of former champions under his belt, and two more that I feel like he should have gotten. One in Robbie Lawler and one in Anthony Pettis the second time that they fought. Obviously, I feel like he probably should have won both of those decisions. But the man, dude, I mean, the guy still holds records. He hasn't fought in a good minute, and he hasn't won in a longer minute, okay? And he still holds records to this day. The most wins and the most fights is kind of like we're just waiting for somebody else to get there. But the most knockdowns with 20, okay, and I don't know who's in second place, but 20 is a lot of knockdowns, and perhaps somebody will beat that by the time their career is over, but he still holds it to this day. And then he's tied for first now. Charles Oliveira is still active, so who knows, next time out Charles Oliveira could, sub Beneil Dariush in the first round, and we could see him getting another performance bonus, and then all of a sudden Cowboy's in second place for that. But as of right now, he is tied for first with most performance bonuses at 18, which is crazy. The guy's made $900,000 in $50,000 bonuses, okay? Which, by the way, also, he's got 36 fights in the UFC. So we're talking, he's averaging one every other fight. And if we're being honest with ourselves, we know that he lost his last 6. So he didn't get any performance bonuses there. It all came before that. So he was actually, for a good minute, averaging quite a bit more than that. Now, there was one other thing. This guy, I don't think anybody else on the UFC roster would take this kind of schedule. In the course of one calendar year, meaning like a month to that month the following year. So not January to January specifically, but we look at his record. May 4th of 2019, okay, he faced Ali Quinta. And just 2 months before that, by the way, he faced Alexander Hernandez. But I didn't want to make it some obscure number just to make his record sound better. But in the course of one calendar year, from May 4th of 2019 to May 9th of 2020, he faced Ali Quinta, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor, and Anthony Pettis. Insane, dude. Insane. Who else has taken that? Who else has taken that many fights? First of all, 5 times in a year is crazy. That's like Angela Hill shit. And also, dude, Angela Hill's a 115-pound woman. So she ain't taking the kind of damage that these men are taking out here at 155 and 170. Like, it's not even comparable. For a guy at 155 pounds to fight 5 times, dude, who does that? And that's towards the end of his career. And he's facing the best of the best over and over and over again. Now, Ali Quinta's maybe not the best of the best, but he fucking schooled him. You know what I mean? And then he had to face Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor. And then he should have gotten that fucking win over Anthony Pettis. That still bugs. Anthony Pettis didn't even think he deserved that win. The dude never said no. And I feel like that needs to be respected a little bit more. I feel like if there's any fighter who hasn't won a belt that is deserving of being in the UFC's Hall of Fame, it is Cowboy Cerrone, man. You know, he, on multiple occasions, like, when people thought he was done, just went, oh, really? Well, giddy up, motherfucker, because I'm coming to finish you, dude. He fucking Mike Perry, beat the brakes off that boy when his gym had fucked him over for the new guy, which is hilarious because Mike Perry didn't really amount to anything in the UFC, with all due respect. I love Mike Perry, but you know what I mean? They kind of fucking shit the bed on that one. It was shades of when they kind of dropped Rashad Evans there at Winklejohn to prioritize John Bones Jones, obviously. Now John Jones was as fruitful as they thought he would be, but Mike Perry wasn't, and Cowboy fucked him up, and that was a great moment because Cowboy's gym had screwed him over. He's fighting against his own gym now, very short time after they screwed him over. And he went out there and finished him. And I believe it was in the first round, which was phenomenal. This guy was fighting dudes like that nobody wanted to fucking fight, man. He fought Till when Till was a nobody. And Till's a massive 170-pounder. Cowboy Cerrone came out from 155. And yeah, he got finished. But who the fuck was willing to take that fight before Darren Till had a fucking number beside his name? Okay? Even Leon Edwards, dude. Leon Edwards was ranked when he fought him. But nobody was looking to fight Leon Edwards. Right? Like, even up until Leon Edwards was the champion, nobody wanted to fucking fight Leon Edwards. And he fought Leon back in fucking 2018. You know what I mean? The guy's a fucking animal. And he's also got some of the best knockouts, like, that are burned into my fucking memory, dude. The one over Rick Story, he got 2 head kick KOs back-to-back, Rick Story and Matt Brown. Some of the best combinations ever. His Matt Brown one, I know that everybody goes on about the Rick Story one because it was the good, jab, straight to the body, head kick follow, I think, was how it went. Matt Brown's was almost justice. Like, that guy threw a switch kick, Cowboy, threw a switch kick. But what he did was he stalled his attack And like, go back and watch it. This is phenomenal. This is like crazy eyesight, not just eyesight, but like fight instincts, IQ, all that shit. High level striking, my guy. Mid switch kick, stalls, does an extra little skip to wait for Matt Brown's defenses to drop, because Matt Brown now thinks that it was just a feint. And then he comes up with the head kick. Good God, man. This guy is phenomenal. And I don't want people to remember him by the end of his career. I know that that's what happens, right? But we're able to put that aside for guys like Anderson Silva. Some of us are able to put that aside for guys like BJ Penn. I think that it really depends on your age. If you're, as old as me or even older, I don't see how you could not think that Donald Cowboy Cerrone belongs in the UFC's Hall of Fame. Now, I'm not going to totally shit on everybody who's got a differing opinion than me, but I would like to hear legitimate reasons as to why he shouldn't be, when we don't even really know what the fucking criteria is. If he shouldn't be in here, dude, Uriah Faber sure as shit shouldn't be. And I know, again, he was a title holder in the WEC, but that's not the fucking UFC. It's not the same thing. So, man, Cowboy Cerrone, dude, I fucking love that guy. I swear to God, this is going to sound soy as fuck, but when he retired, I almost shed a tear. Almost. I didn't. But, man, if you are a fight fan and you don't like Cowboy Cerrone, then you're not a fucking fight fan. This man, it's kind of like how I feel about Justin Gaethje. If you cannot like the guy as a person, that's fine. And I'm sure that Cowboy's somewhat of an acquired taste. Now, I live in a town where it's quite normal to see people dressed up like Donald Cowboy Cerrone and acting like him too. So, to me, it's like comforting. I mean, I like him. I like his personality a lot, but I don't like Justin Gaethje. But I love Justin Gaethje at the same time, because the fights he puts on for us every single time he goes in the cage. And whether or not Cowboy had a pretty hard fall from grace towards the end of his career, those fights, every one of them that he was in, was still exciting. Whether or not it was him getting finished or him getting battered. I mean, even in the Tony Ferguson fight, he was holding his own until he fucking blew his nose. Man. I could literally go on about Cowboy forever if I were to just sit here and think of things, but as I was saying, dude, if you are a fight fan and you don't respect Cowboy Cerrone, then you are not a fight fan. The guy put a show on for you every time he went into that cage. He fought guys spreading across multiple weight classes, fought some of the toughest, literal best in the world fighters we have ever seen, even towards the end of his career. And, man, he definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. For sure. I can't fathom how. Also, dude, if you're a journalist and, like, you're supposed to be a fan of this and you're fucking shitting on Cowboy Cerrone, fuck you. How could you? I don't understand. It's funny, dude. On his Wikipedia page, man, there's not even a list of controversies this long on John Jones' page. Which is, like, funny, because it means that somebody who hates Cowboy wrote that shit. Because a lot of them are little fucking nitpick things. I mean, and he said, she said type shit, where, like, Aljamain Sterling says that Cowboy Cerrone made him feel uncomfortable with a comment about his goofy ass chain. That's a controversy? Jesus fucking Christ. Or that's what makes him a bigot? Jesus fucking Christ, dude. He's Cowboy, man. He's got some based opinions. He's got some other opinions that might be a little too radical for some, but I fucking love him. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. I will never forget the fights that man put on inside the octagon, and I think that if there is one fighter who never won a championship that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, it's Donald Cowboy Cerrone. And I also think that it's good that they were willing to put him in, because I think that it sets precedent, because there is no way that when I'm fucking 40 or whatever, right, 12 years from now, let's say, that I don't want to see guys like Gilbert Burns in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Diego Sanchez is in the Hall of Fame, for fuck's sakes, okay? I know it's a fight that's in the Hall of Fame, not him personally, but Jesus. I mean, this guy, I would argue he had more success in the UFC than fucking Uriah Faber did. So, yeah. If you disagree, please let me know how in the comments. I want to hear from you guys, obviously, as usual. Yeah, I want to hear what you guys think. Whether or not you think Cowboy should be in there. or if you agree, who are some other guys that never won belts that you think should also be put in there? Um, yeah, man. And sorry if this wasn't doing good. I just got some bad news before I filmed this video, so my mind's a little scattered, but you know what I mean. It is what it is. I had to. I went and changed all my decorations and shit, so I had to still do this video. I'm trying to think of other things, man. I mean, I'm sure you could. If you've got other cowboy moments that I forgot to mention, fucking drop them in the comments below as well. And, dude, just like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, with all that being said, this is the end of this video, and I will see you at the next one. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.